On.
Welcome to Black by Popular Demand, where we talk about all things and everything. This time, we're going to be talking about mental health in the Black community. Last time, we talked about a narcissist named Donald Trump. So I think that this is a really good way for us to go ahead and continue with this. With me, I'm Nev Santana. With me, I have Stephen Lamore and I have Anthony. How you guys doing?
I'm doing it right. Just want to let it be known to the YouTube verse that was the weakest intro I've ever seen in my life. Like the weakest. Like, come on. Like,
I would also like to say that my catchphrase of Shazam is in the works. I'm working on a better one, but that's the placeholder.
Cool. Let's see if we can dive in here. Mental health. This is a pretty tough idea or pretty tough topic for us to go ahead and tackle. I think you guys could agree, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about when it comes to mental health and the Black community in particular is, why do you guys think mental health in the Black community isn't spoken to as much as it would be in other communities?
Because it's soft, B. Quit telling me how you feel, fam. I don't want to know how you feel. You got to get work, get the money, or you know how that sentence ends.
Yeah.
I think even on a larger scale, health in the Black community is not talked about much.
And it costs money, like, let's be real. Like, stuff that costs money, I don't want to talk about. You want me to go talk to somebody about my problems? Okay. How 100 what hour? I'm sorry.
Yeah. And like, all of us like to think that we have the ability to fix whatever problems we have for ourselves. It's tough to be like, oh, I have a problem and I need someone else to help me fix that problem. Like, that's not something that you do naturally. Like, we all have, like, well, not we all, but me. I have this demigod syndrome where I think I can solve anything. And then to come into that realization that I really can't solve anything, that's there is a humility that has to take place to get that done. And most people haven't done that soul searching to get to that place to realize the weakness.
Soul searching, huh? That's spot on, right? So often we just kind of overlook, what is probably in our best interest, because it that what lays on top of the soul, your ego. You really don't want to admit that maybe you're a little broken. You've been shaken up, you've been through trauma. It's okay to go and talk to somebody. I know for me, the first time I realized, I need to talk to somebody about this. I was a kid. I was like maybe 12. I used to beg my grandmother, like, hey, I need to talk to somebody. I want to see a psychologist. But it wasn't necessary. I didn't feel like talking would be the thing, but I knew I didn't like how things were affecting me. And I thought maybe this person whose job it is, to diagnose and help people, could just make me magically feel better. So even in my want of it, I had nobody to really tell me what to actually expect. And my expectations were actually probably misaligned with what was actually going to happen when I went in there. Never went to see a psychologist or a shrink, but I remember asking. You feel me?
Talk to me about the expectation that's put onto the Black man, which doesn't allow the Black man to go seek out that mental help.
I mean, I think primarily you have this distrust in you from anyone that's, seeking to work with you in a vulnerable state, right? I got my guard up at all times. I can't let somebody in. I can't tell you about my problems because I don't know if you're going to use that against me. So I don't know, I guess I could retract my earlier statement where I think maybe it's ego. Maybe it's more of a distrust. You know, like I'm so used to being taken advantage of, hoodwinked. You know, that if I go and
Dive
open myself
into,
up, yeah.
can you dive into who's taking advantage of necessarily you or the black man or like whoever it
I mean, I
is?
think it's obviously Black people can relate in some degree, but I think it's universal. You know, it's just anybody, you know, of low social stature, somebody who doesn't have a ton of resources, you know, who might have their hand out. And, you know, if we're talking about the Black community, you know, traditionally, at least up to this point, it's been a scarcity of resources, you know? So when we go outside of the community to try to find things, immediately you think, oh, this person is going to try and take, you know, or this person doesn't have my best interest in mind. You know, I talked to my dad the other day. I came out of the dentist and I said to him, without giving any sort of context, I'm like, you know, sometimes I feel like the dentist is just trying to run up the bill. Of course they are. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
No context, right? It could have been, the dentist could have been completely in, you know, the right lane diagnostically. But as far as my pops, he's like, no, that's what they do. Okay. And I'm sure there's no difference when it comes to, you know, a psychiatrist, a shrink, counselor.
Yeah, I think what plays into it too is fear, right? Like us not having control over like what it is. We don't know like what we don't know. So from one end, society fears the black man. So the black man naturally is like, oh, I'm fearful of society. It's like a balancing act. I'm not sure what they're going to do to me. Society's not sure what to do to black people. So there naturally is some sort of a distrust that comes about it. And I think a lot, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, a lot goes into, you know, just kind of navigating through yourself, you know, because like as a man, I think the genius of masculinity is wrestling through your mud impulses and growing and building and figuring out who you are and tackling what the demons that are inside you. And one of those things is your mental health. It's there. There is a humility that has to happen in your growth to acknowledge that you don't have a hold of like something like, for instance, like your anxiety is weighing you down, and in order for you to get to that next level, you have to find a way to treat that, you know, and that can be done by getting help. But it's tough, like, but it's tough to really admit that, oh, I need help, you know, cause like help is like a dangerous word. Like it's probably like most people don't want to tell people that they need help because you rather just hold on to it, figure it out on your own, than be like, oh yeah, I need help.
You know how like in the opioid epidemic, this is gonna sound like a tangent, but you've almost felt like, okay, the black community was kind of spared because we really didn't get prescribed as many of the opiates as, you know, another class or another level, you know, race of people, whatever. You know, white people go in there, be like, man, my leg hurt. Oh, let me give you some Xanax, some whatever, some whatever the drug du jour might be. But for us, the expectation is like, oh, your pain tolerance is higher. You'll be all right here. Take these aspirin. But I feel like it's different when it comes to mental health issues, especially at an early age. Sometimes I think our children are over medicated and sedated to be controlled. You know, like if you have a learning disability, right? What's the first thing you think? I'm going to this other class. I'm separated from my friends. I'm probably going to be given these pills that make me not feel like myself. You know, so from an early age, you learn, you know what, if something's not clicking or if I'm not putting the pieces together right, I want to avoid telling anybody about that. And I'm going to just try and work it out. Even if I get it wrong, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. You know what that is too, like early on is we don't have the point of reference to understand like what is like normality, like what is healthy. Even generationally, right? Like previous generations, like they've had said trauma and never dealt with trauma. So they normalized trauma. So, oh
Mhm.
yeah, you're going to, oh, you just got the blues, like it's like just ignore it, like you'll
Right
get
across,
past it. And all that does is it spirals and spirals and grows and grows and grows, and it develops unhealthy behaviors that gets passed on from generation to generation. Like with relationships, people think that like, oh, if we don't fight, that means we don't love each other. No, that's toxic.
That's that. You sure? I'm pretty sure. Once we start yelling, we start talking. Now we communicate.
I have a question. I have a quick question that that kind of goes along with what Steve was talking about when it comes to trauma. There is what we call PTS. Do any of you guys know or can dive into what PTS is and the effects that it has?
So PTS, post-traumatic stress. I went. I'm by no means an expert in this category, but I have sat and listened to several panels, but usually in the context of the military, you know. And the idea is, and they take the disorder out because they try to, you know, loosen the stigma around it. You know, post-traumatic stress disorder versus post-traumatic stress. That just sounds like a temporary condition that's fixable, you know, which I really honestly I think it is. You know, some people try to fix post-traumatic stress, which is basically you going through something that rocks your psyche in a way that your psyche has stress or your mental has stress, that is traumatized. Like you might get a bruise on your, you know, on your leg, you get a bruise on your brain, not the physical brain, but the neural, you know, the connections. I sat with a surgeon once and he talked about a procedure that they wanted. This only done in Chicago, only happened in Chicago. This guy doing this surgery, Dr. DeFino, and his comrade, I can't remember his name, but they would shoot this little needle into the like back of your brain. And it would like, I probably shouldn't even be talking about this. This is very sensitive material. This is a patented
High level stuff.
I'm telling you, it blew my
Bring
mind.
it on.
Yeah, right off Michigan Avenue. Anyway, and it was supposed to block these certain like, you know, triggering receptors that will make you kind of lose it. But I think it was what was so revolutionary to me is they didn't just work primarily with military people, veterans. It was mostly like traumatized children or rape victims, you know? And you think about our community, how many, like, it's not just one instance of trauma, you know, it's like a systematic trauma. So, you know, you kind of think there's no cure for that.
You know that you ever seen the Jim Carrey movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
I did. That was a terrible movie, Jim Carrey. You should have stuck with comedy. Stop trying to be serious.
But
let the serious actors do that.
But well, I love the movie. Like
I'm messing around, Jim Carrey. Don't tweet me. Don't at me, bro. Don't at me, bro.
But in that movie, he goes through a breakup and he tries to erase those memories, like just pretend like it doesn't exist. And then what happening, he gets the procedure done, and like they go through his mind and erase memories. And I think that's what a lot of people hope happens. Like they hope that like whatever traumatic experience that they have, if they just don't acknowledge it, or just get erased. Because it's even though it's unhealthy, I think some people's natural instinct is to if I don't acknowledge it, I don't have to deal with it.
So we all three, as you can definitely see, we're Black men. We definitely love hip hop. We love hip hop a lot. I have a question. So, and hear me out completely. So, should hip hop be talking about mental health in their lyrics? So you see J. Cole talking about meditate over medication in his album KOD. You see Logic, he talks about the suicide prevention hotline and whatnot. And there's other artists that are out there talking about mental health. Do you think that people that don't have such expertise in the area should be talking about it?
Well, I mean, that's what you like about music, right? You don't have to be an expert to write a song about it. You know, it's just like your story, kind of what you're going through. And I think that's very healthy, right? If people that are in positions of admiration can be, a conduit to give a solid message, that's great. I'm into that all the time. I don't think J. Cole needs to be diagnosing anybody, right? I also don't think Kanye West needs to be telling people he doesn't need his meds. Come on, yay. Everybody can't fuck up and win like you, you know? But I don't know. I like it, but it's not sexy, right? You don't want to hear that in the club.
Yeah, I think it all. I think it all. I think it depends. Not that it. I think for artists, right? It depends why they're in the game. Are they in it to improve people, or are they in it for dollars and cents? I think that really good artists, they try to convey the message of who they are in the form of artistry. And I think that when you present things that that people can relate to, I think that like people could connect that and they'd be like, oh snap. Like you think of Biggie Small suicidal thoughts. Like, you think of like a whole bunch of other songs. DMX slipping, I'm falling, can't get up. It's like maybe that invokes something in somebody else to get help. I think it all depends on the motif of the artist.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Go
I
ahead.
know. Well, I mean, I'll just say this. My cousin was a musician or a writer, and he wrote a song describing suicide, right? In like 3 years ago. Well, this was many moons ago, but like he actually ended up committing suicide. He literally wrote a song 3, 4 years before his actual death that described exactly what he was gonna do. you know, so it's almost like, damn, looking back, he never went to see a therapist. He would laugh at you if you talked about that. Anything like that was soft. Anything like that was like, nerdy, lame, just any sort of like emasculating adjective you can give to say you are not strong enough and you can't handle it. Lo and behold, he was playing a dirty game and actually did, some of the most mentally depraved acts. And you kind of think like, man, are these people, who are going through these things, are they putting up such a shell, but sending out these little beacons of signals, asking for help? And are we so blind that we just missing them every day?
Yeah. I feel like there is, I don't feel, I know that there is a stigma around mental health right now. I feel like people are trying to make it better, but I feel like there's still this strong stigma around getting help for something that you can't see, that you can't touch, that people believe is just an idea rather than an actual condition.
Yeah,
So,
stop talking
question.
about the church like that, man. Come on.
uh,
Stop talking about the church like that, man. Come on. But that's
question
it's
for you
true,
guys.
right? Like if you feel in a certain way, go talk to your pastor. I thinking of having this conversation right now just makes me realize how many hats the church wears. In the community. You're the peacekeeper, you're the psychiatrist, you're the marriage counselor, you're the financial advisor, you're the political advisor. So much in our community, we depend on God and the people who are, the voice or the I ain't gonna say the voice of God, but like, the conduits of God's word.
Yeah.
We depend so much. I think if we want to start, maybe that's where the message might need to originate.
Yes, the question I was going to ask, and maybe that's your answer. How do we stop the stigma? Like, how do we go about, just nullifying?
Pamphlets in church. Drop off pamphlets.
I think it starts and ends at the same place. Self. I think that on a whole, we 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 normalize people finding out who they really who finding out their identity, um, finding out who they are, what they need to get to, right? And in doing that, you could probably perform like a SWOT analysis: your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. As you interrogate the dark corners of your soul or your mind, whatever you want to call
That
it.
sounds like a book, Steve. Interrogate the dark corners of your soul.
All right, I got a book coming out. It's called When the Enemy Is Me, but don't even get me started.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug. But when you start to interrogate yourself, you'll start to look at what you need to do to get better. So I think I think normalizing is making it like realistic that everybody needs some sort of of help, because like when you when initially, like, some people might think, oh, it's only for those people. When it's only for those people, I don't need it. I'm not one of them. But if it's for everyone, then it makes it easier for people to seek help. So if everybody looks to get some sort of mental health or mental health help, I think that begins to shift the stigma.
And I also say, just out of personal experience, you got to knock on a few doors. You know, I've been to a few shrinks. I've been in my hand a fair share. You know, and I can say like some of the ones that I've went and spoke with or worked with really didn't feel like the connection was there, and I felt like I wasn't really inspired to give a lot. You know, they weren't asking me to probing questions. It was almost like I was a number, and I think that's what happens. um, I think that's when capitalism gets into altruism. The two should not meet. People just doing certain things, like my dad said, they're just here to run up the bill. Is that everybody? No, but it took me a while to find the right person who I felt like, was really genuinely like could give me the attention that I needed and would ask me the questions and would keep it real with me, wouldn't try to like ask me 30 questions when it was really just one that you could ask me, why did you do that? Oh shit. Well, I felt like I needed to, or whatever my answer was, that person could give it to you. So don't feel like if you go see one person and you can't connect or it doesn't feel like it's helping, after a few sessions, don't just do one, do a few sessions. Doesn't feel like it's helping, don't, go to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the host. I don't get paid for my opinion, but
Working on that, Santana. That's next.
But I will say this. I think that it's important that you go to a therapist, even when things aren't, completely, terrible. I think it's something where I believe I'm a huge advocate of going to a therapist on a normal basis, even if it's monthly, bi-monthly. You could go ahead and figure out what your cadence will be. But I think it's important to go to someone else that is going to be able to listen to you, and that they don't have a stake in your actual life besides what you pay them, but they get that from insurance. But they don't have an actual stake in if you talk to Billy instead of you talking to Steve. There's no stake for them. But if you talk to someone like your best friend or another friend, they have a stake in the decisions that you make. So it's better to go to someone that doesn't have, that view, and could go ahead and make things a little bit muddy for you. So we'll end it with that. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you checking us out. Just to let you know, we'd love for you guys to go ahead and subscribe. We are trying to get as many people as possible listening to us, and I will improve on my entries for the next set of Black by Popular Demand episodes to make sure that Steve is actually proud of me.
There we go. That's all that I like to hear out of life.
We got to pressure. The more subscribers, the more pressure he feels to really bring it in that intro. So hit the button. Where's it at?
Click the button, wherever it is. That's it.
Insert outro.